I did predict, and I told many of the clients who I met with, that Bay Street corridor is going to see the biggest jump more so closer to fall. When I was meeting with people in May, June, July, I said closer to fall is a better time to sell. In today's video, some downtown condo prices, certain areas that were previously very hot, now slowly calming down. Is it time to jump back in those specific neighborhoods? Let's get to it. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. As always, you can find my contact information in the description box. Feel free to get in touch with me if you have any further questions about anything discussed in this video or any other video, or if you have any general inquiries with regards to the Toronto real estate market and GTA real estate market. Lastly, before we get into the point of today's video, as always, as I say, if you happen to enjoy these videos, your support in terms of a subscription and a like is greatly appreciated. You're not obliged to do so whatsoever. Feel free not to subscribe, not to review, and not to like. But if you happen to enjoy these videos, it's once again greatly appreciated. But let's move on to the point of today's video, which is yet another weekly condo market update where I go through the latest trends, numbers, and news you should know with regards to the Toronto/GTA condo market, wherein we're going to start with Bay Street corridor and Church-Yonge corridor and looking at the prices there in specific. Why? A couple of videos back, I made a video describing how, according to the latest numbers, one of the specific neighborhoods within C1 downtown Toronto that was very, very much so hot and vibrant and prices were going up, there was a lot of transactions occurring, was Bay Street corridor. Now, Bay Street corridor is more so the financial district of downtown Toronto. Not to say there aren't banks, financial institutions, white-collar jobs outside of Bay Street corridor. Obviously, it's downtown. Nonetheless, Bay Street corridor is known to be the financial district of downtown Toronto, and for good reason. What does that mean? A lot of white-collar jobs. A lot of white-collar jobs that require office space and a lot of people who have to go to the office. When proximity to work became a priority once more for downtown Toronto, we saw Bay Street corridor prices shoot up. And in contrast, the entertainment district did not see the same amount of appreciation because clearly there was less demand for the lifestyle/entertainment portions of downtown Toronto from buyers and far more demand for, once again, areas that are most often associated with white-collar jobs, office spaces, and more proximity to work priorities. We see that prices in this specific neighborhood have actually softened a bit. But let's take it all the way back to July, right? Because when we look at the Bay Street corridor, and if you want the exact designation of this neighborhood/community within downtown Toronto, is probably on the screen, and you can find the larger trep maps within the link in my description. As you can see, Bay Street corridor is very narrowly drawn. It's more vertical than horizontal. It resides right next to Church-Yonge corridor, which we'll also take a look. But let's go back to July, look at the July prices, start from there. We see the average sold price in July was $789,000 in Bay Street corridor based on 97 transactions. And then in August, we saw a large jump to the tune of 17% appreciation/increase in prices, wherein in August, the average sold price in Bay Street corridor was $926,000. Once again, 17%, that's nothing to scoff at. And I don't just look at the numbers, right? I'm a real estate agent. I have many people in Bay Street corridors, many sellers who have either already sold or want to sell their condo with me. And I was telling them in the summer market, they should probably wait for things to open up a bit more closer to the fall when people would need proximity to work once more, especially in Bay Street corridor. That's where I thought you're going to see the biggest boom in terms of the influx of demand coming back to downtown Toronto. Not to say there wasn't that influx already, because we saw prices did increase in March, and 2 weeks into April they kind of peaked around March, but they were still steadily high in 2 weeks into April. But ever since then, stuff started to soften in the summer market in downtown Toronto in terms of prices. Nonetheless, when the fall market was going to come, I did predict, and I told many of the clients who I met with, that Bay Street corridor is going to see the biggest jump more so closer to fall. When I was meeting with people in May, June, July, I said closer to fall is a better time to sell. But even by my expectations, I didn't see August prices being this high. Let's look at September numbers thus far, 16 days into September. In September, we see an average sold price of $907,000. So a 2% dip month over month, right, from August, but still nonetheless much higher than the levels we were looking at in July. Now, if we look at the partnering mini community, and I always have to preface this, right? This is on paper, in theory. In practice, really, a lot of buyers, if they're looking in Bay Street corridor, 2 blocks down the street, they're gonna look there as well, and that could technically be, Church-Yonge corridor, right? So I just want to preface, although these boundaries and communities in downtown are not completely arbitrarily drawn, in real life practice, most buyers are not really thinking of it in these senses. They're more so thinking about it in terms of what that community provides them, which is, once again, here, proximity to work. Nonetheless, the partnering community within downtown Toronto is Church-Yonge corridor, as I aforementioned. And let's take a look at prices there from July as well. Where in July, based on 136 transactions, the average sold price was $730,000. Now, when we look at August, we saw an 8% increase in prices, where we saw an average sold price of $789,000. And thus far in September, once again, as of September 16th, you're probably going to be watching this September 17th or 18th. As of September 16th, the average sold price in Church-Yonge corridor has been $800,000. So what we saw with Bay Street corridor was more of a spike in prices because there was a rush of influx in demand. A lot of people needed units there, both for rental purposes. Obviously, both rental demand and purchase and sale demand impact prices, right? Rental demand more indirectly impacts and pushes up condo prices, and purchase and sale demand obviously far more directly pushes up prices. For both those reasons, we saw a spike in prices. Now we are seeing an adjustment in Bay Street corridor in terms of prices, where now it's down to, once again, 900 from the previous month's August's full month of sale data, which was around 920, right? So it's down right now, but still far higher than it was in July. However, with Church-Yonge corridor, we have seen a steady increase, nothing crazy, a far more tempered relative to what we're comparing it to, which is Bay Street corridor, a far more tempered increase and steady incline. Now, in terms of how buyers and sellers should approach given these numbers, obviously this is general advice. I always like to preface that, right? Because when I sit down with clients on a one-on-one basis, whether you're a buyer or a seller, let's take the seller, for example. If I sit down with you on a one-on-one basis, I'm looking at your specific portfolio in terms of how much you have down, if you're renting it, what your cash flow is like, right? If you're an end user, what your wants, needs, and desires are. And I take a look at your unit, a specific building, right? Because Bay Street corridor, there's bad buildings, there's good condos, there's layouts that are not so good, there's layouts that are good. On a one-on-one basis, my advice can differ. So this advice is meant for a general audience, not what I would do on a one-on-one basis. But generally speaking, as a seller, I think you're in a win-win situation where if you do choose to sell right now, although we're not dealing with the high prices that you were dealing with in August, you're still selling much higher than you would have in summer. And that's why when I met with people in the summer, I told them to wait for the fall market. So you're still dealing with higher prices. But I do see prices staying steady into late September, early October. I don't think we're going to see the jump in prices that we saw in August for Bay Street corridor. So I think you're good trying to sell now, or you can wait until late fall. So as a seller, you're kind of in a win-win situation here in Bay Street corridor. As a buyer, if you're looking currently in Bay Street corridor, Church-Yonge corridor is also a good option for you as well. As you can see, it's more of a steady incline, a steady increases in prices. I think you're better off buying now than the depths of the fall into the winter market. I do see prices increasing there. Once again, it's hard to predict the prices, but based on the safest assumptions and projections, I think prices in this segment of downtown will increase even further. The only downside is the quality of units in Church-Yonge corridor is not as good as the quality of certain units in Bay Street corridor. Church-Yonge corridor does suffer from some just average, maybe mediocre builds, nothing horrible like we have in Little Portugal or you know, other areas in downtown, but not the best builds. I think Bay Street corridor, although it has some older builds, they're much better, I think. So I think as a buyer, if you can expand your geographic location into Church-Yonge corridor a bit, I think that's going to impact your pockets a little less. But the longer you weigh into the depths of fall, winter, the more difficult your purchase can become potentially. Anyways, that's Sam from Saberi Real Estate and Remax Realtron Realty. As always, thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you have any further questions in the description box with regards to anything discussed in this video, anything discussed in other videos, or if you have any general inquiries with regards to the Toronto/GTA real estate market. As always, feel free to subscribe, comment, and review if you happen to enjoy these videos. If not, feel free not to do that. But thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.